Tanya shall witness mine eyes.
I already had a huge smile on my face by the time the movie was over. It was the same all across the theater as 30 and 40-year-olds relive their childhood in the best way possible. And of course, the movie delivered on a perfect happy ending. But don't make the mistake of leaving the theaters too early, because the film also has a few interesting post-credits scenes that are definitely worth waiting for. I always had a feeling that Masters of the Universe might try to ignite the franchise with more than one film, and it seems like director Travis Knight has the same thing on his mind, going by these post-credit scenes. In this video, I'll break down these scenes for you and also explore the possibility of a sequel based on them. There will be some major spoilers along the way, so you have been warned. Orko and his magical presence. This is definitely not something that I expected, and for everyone who's grown up watching the Filmation cartoons, this is a moment to savor. Do you remember how Orko used to appear at the end of every episode to deliver a moral lesson for the kids? Well, the adorable little wizard does it again, and this time around, Orko talks about how masculinity is not all about the muscles and the stereotypical portrayal of power. If you watched the movie, you'll realize that the core value of the narrative is basically all about this. Adam is supposed to represent the new era of masculinity. He doesn't prefer a violent confrontation, but if he's pushed to a wall, he's not hesitant to unleash the most powerful version of himself. Also, he's in touch with his sensitive side, and he doesn't shy away from his feelings. Even Man-at-Arms represents this as well. He was the typical masculine figure with raw power, and after he lost to Skeletor's forces, he was never the same because he couldn't come to terms with his failure. He took to drinking and kept to himself, and that only changed after Adam taught him compassion and sharing. I don't know if this is a very accurate representation of the version of He-Man that we've grown up watching, but it's definitely worth checking out. As for Orko, the design is so cartoon accurate that it really made me nostalgic. And this is probably the most lighthearted post-credit scene among the three. I wish they also included Orko in the movie because this is a character that's loved by everyone. She-Ra and the Princess of Power might be up next, and Hordak might be the new villain. Orko's brief appearance might only be fan service and a nostalgic throwback, but this one is a serious post-credit scene with bigger implications. It takes place about halfway into the end scroll, and here you see Queen Marlena speaking to Man-at-Arms about someone that she doesn't name. I also don't think Adam is aware of this character, but Duncan seems to know all about her. As Queen Marlena cryptically points out, there's still another part of her life that remains unfinished business. And then, we're given a glimpse of Adam's long-lost twin sister. She's on a nearby planet called Etheria, and Adora has a very different struggle. If you're familiar with her story arc, you'll know that she was kidnapped by the evil demon Hordak when she was a baby, and she was brought to Etheria. She served as an agent of the Horde, but she eventually learns about her true origins and stops being so delusioned with evil. She learns about her past from Adam, who visits Etheria, and she also gains the Sword of Protection, which allows her to access the power of Grayskull, just like the Power Sword. That's when she takes up the identity of She-Ra and renounces her allegiance to the Horde. In the post-credit scene, she keeps her back to the camera all this while, and it might be a good trick to build the anticipation about her presence. We also get to see the Sword of Protection glowing fiercely. When a random person asks her if she's the Force Captain Adora, she replies that she's no longer the same woman. Those who know about her backstory can immediately connect the dots, and I think the sequel possibilities are right there, given how the scene is set up. Even Travis Knight is optimistic about telling the future story of She-Ra, and he talks about how She-Ra has always been a big part of the Masters of the Universe world and a big part of Adam's story. He also says that in the fullness of time, if we're lucky to tell more stories in this universe, She-Ra will play a huge part. So, this is definitely one of the forerunners when it comes to sequel possibilities. And you probably know that the animated series She-Ra and the Princess of Power on Netflix turned out to be a huge hit. However, for a live-action movie, a solo She-Ra run might be a bit too risky, and a combination of He-Man and She-Ra might actually do the trick. It would also be fitting because Hordak might not be alone and he might be allied with Skeletor, which brings me to the final post-credit scene. The best part is that Travis Knight already has someone in mind to play the role of She-Ra in the movie, and this just tells you that they're ready to bring another film into this universe.
That time for talk is over.
Skeletor is far from gone. I'm not even worried about spilling the spoiler because who wouldn't know that the movie would end with Skeletor being defeated? Masters of the Universe delivers on the perfect ending, where the evil reign of Skeletor is ended by Prince Adam and his allies. A violent and intense showdown between Adam and Skeletor shows the former unleashing the beast of his power. He gets stabbed by the power sword, but eventually he lands some powerful punches as he destroys Skeletor. The final scene shows Skeletor down and out, and it's almost easy to assume that Skeletor is dead because he doesn't show up even 6 months later, but Adam and his friends are shown celebrating the new dawn of Eternia. But did you really think that Skeletor would die so easily? The final post-credits scene confirms this, and it's something that can fuel the sequel ideas. Even though Skeletor is seemingly destroyed, evil Lynn is sly enough to get away. The post-credits scene shows her back to the site where Skeletor's dismantled skull still remains. She picks up the skull and says, "I must say you have looked better," and takes the skull away with a smile. The skin blacks out and you can hear Skeletor's iconic laughter thundering in the background. Of course, this is not a coincidence, and it's well planned to lay the groundwork for the future. Evil Lynn is a witch with great magical powers, and I think it serves her well to reanimate Skeletor in some form. Also, this means that Eternia is not really safe, and Adam and his friends simply have an illusion of everlasting peace. Skeletor will be back, and this time around, he'll be even worse because he'll have vengeance on his mind. I'm also thrilled by the idea that the next film can balance both Skeletor and Hordak, along with She-Ra, and if it's not a perfect future prospect, I don't know what is. As you can see, almost all roads lead to a sequel, and even the director has plans for a follow-up. The only worrying downside is that the box office results of Masters of the Universe haven't really been satisfactory so far. I don't know why, because the film's a solid entertainer, but many theaters are not as packed as they should be. I hope this changes soon enough, because if the box office collections aren't promising enough, then the creators might not have the motivation to go for a sequel, even if the story permits one. Personally, I strongly recommend watching this film on the big screen, and make sure that you stick around for the fun and eventful post-credits scenes. Let me know in the comments below about your thoughts on the movie and the post-credits scenes. Also, if you appreciate efforts to bring you content like this, hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and be sure to ring that notification bell for more videos from us. Be safe, have a great day, and as always, stay marvelous.